Welcome to That's Bananas with Savannah. That's me, your host, Savannah Hunter. And we have made it to episode 5. I know it's not like a huge milestone, but I'm pretty proud of it. So I want to start by saying I love everybody who listens and supports this passion of mine. I know there's plenty of room to improve. Like, for instance, my cats. I don't know what to do with them. I know you guys can hear in the previous episodes them scratching at the door, meowing at the door, just constantly in the background. So I'm going to give them a chance to be in the room, and hopefully they behave. Yes, I am proud of the strides I've made so far, and I'm just going to keep getting better at this because this is what I love to do. So I just want to remind everybody that it would really help if you would rate, review, and subscribe on all platforms. I would really appreciate it. And yeah, definitely follow me on social media. That's Bananas with Savannah or Bananas with Sav at gmail.com for all your crazy stories to send to me to read on the show. Okay? So I would like to say I have received the slightest bit of backlash, and hey, that's to be expected 100%. But just to be clear as the light of day, I'm an adult, my guests are adults, and God, I hope that my listeners are adults. And we talk about adult shit, like real life shit. So basically, we'll just be laying it all out on the table for you. And with that, there are triggers to be expected, such as sexual assault, drugs, abuse, death, whatever comes up. And hey, I understand that not everybody can handle that. I don't expect them to. But if you find yourself in a moment where you want to make a biased judgment, I want you to remember that those are problems you have with yourself, so keep them to yourself. I mean, it's really that easy. These stories are not meant to show us in the best light. Not always. It's important to own our shit. Also, just one more side note. If you find my stories to be dramatic, I'm very sorry your life is so boring and that you don't know how to tell a climatic story. Plus, life is pretty dramatic, if you ask me. But all of that aside, guys, how is your 2022 going? Mine is definitely throwing some challenges my way. Oh, it's been a time, but I do appreciate all of the knowledge, all of the lessons that I'm learning. They're important. I appreciate it, I guess. It's painful, but sometimes you just want a break. Like, okay, yes, I'm pretty smart by now. Like, let me have a week lesson free. That'd be great. But I have had some fun this year. So I did want to talk about this past weekend. I actually went to go see one of my favorite bands live. They are a local band in Buffalo, New York. They are called Atlas. You can find them on pretty much every platform. Atlas, period. Otherwise, it's kind of hard to find. But yeah, I seen them live, and honestly, so not disappointed. They're so great. And I actually went to school with one of the people in the band, but I started listening just to show some support, but I was like, oh my God, they actually are amazing. And I haven't been disappointed with a single song. So that says a lot, I think. And yeah, so I went and seen them live, and let me tell you, I've seen some notably good bands like play some busted shows, but they were in like some small corners of some bars and were killing it, dude. Like, definitely recommend giving them a listen. And yeah, like I just appreciate their music so much and appreciated the weekend. I met friends. And actually, it was like the funnest time because the craziest thing happened. So I do paintings whenever I'm really stressed out. It helps me ease my mind. And I've been selling them on Etsy, like digital prints. So I went into the bathroom and some girl comes out of the stall and she stops me and she's like, wait, this is going to be really weird. And she pulls out her phone and she shows it to me, and my art is her background on her phone. And I was like, are you serious? Like, it was such an amazing moment. Like, I appreciate her so much for that. Like, it's just like everyone thinks their art is shit. And then moments like that happen, and you're like, wait, I'm doing okay. So definitely give Atlas a listen. And if anything, this actually inspired me to every episode promote a local band or a local artist or a local business. I think it's important. So if that applies to you, go ahead and message me on social media or send your emails to bananaswithsav@gmail.com. Sort of tell me about what you'd like me to promote, and I can sort of, pick and choose who I'm going to do that for every episode. So I think that would be fun. But fun aside, I've had my hardships this year. I mean, just to wrap it all up in a little bow, it's been like car malfunctions, starting a new job, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong. I'm so happy about that, but it is a hurdle. And my kid being sick, every time every time I have a job, he's like, I'm going to get sick now. it's it's really a trip. And of course, like men, been a little heartbroken, gone through a breakup recently and some other bullshit. It's really the story of my life. But yeah, I'm going through a little bit of hardship, so if people just want to like keep me in their thoughts, that would be great. But I'm just trying to make the best of it, and I know everything is going to be okay because after everything I've been through, I have to believe everything's going to be okay. I think it's important to not drown in your problems, and everything does always end up okay, even if it's not for a while. So, something to keep in mind. Speaking of men, no, today's story is a story of employers and how they can fuck us constantly. And of course, that includes riveting friendships and unrequited love and bullshit. So, definitely, let's get into it. Ultimately, this will touch on how people in power, even if it's the smallest bit of power, have an effect on people's livelihood. And 9 times out of 10, they don't acknowledge it, but the effect is great. So, no, I've had jobs. Okay. When I say that, I mean I have had many, many, many jobs. It's mostly because I don't put up with being exploited and treated badly in the workplace. I don't. I will not. I believe that's the place I'm there to make money and contribute to a system. And if I'm doing that, I don't need to be treated like I'm worthless. you know, I don't vibe with that at all. So I have experience in many different fields, and I think that's a gold star for me. I honestly have skills, and I could do any job. I know that. But yeah, I've done it all. It's an ongoing joke how many jobs I've had. and how in every conversation I can say, I actually used to work at a place where I did this. But I've always liked working, and I've always liked staying busy and being productive and helping out and making money since I was a kid. Like, I was one of those kids that was doing odd jobs, like, let me shovel your sidewalk, let me rake up your leaves, give me my ice cream truck money. And so, of course, I was that kid that every time I would go to a friend's house, I would clean their room and organize their closet because I don't know, I guess I was OCD from a young age. And as soon as I could, I started babysitting. I just really wanted to make money, and I was good with kids back then. I don't know what switched, but one day I just stopped liking other people's kids so much. I don't know if that makes me a bad person or what, but I love my own. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't know. I prefer to hang out with adults. Is that so bad? So my first job ever, like my first official job, was tanning bed. And that didn't last very long. It was kind of a blur, but shortly after that, at around 16, I started working for Pizza Hut. And I worked there for a long time after I started. But I started as a cook, and I was a cook for a long time. And throughout the years, I ended up a cook, a waitress, a driver, and you already know I was doing management responsibilities, but was I making more than a waitress's wage? No. Do you know how much that is? Well, I know for me it was $7 an hour. Like, and people in Lockport, they don't tip you. I mean, some of them do, but it's not a good way to make a living wage in this town. Which, who cares? Because Pizza Hut's closed now, which kind of makes me sad. I worked there for a long time. I worked there for about 6, 7 years, with a little break in between. But I was never truly appreciated there. I really had my best work ethic there, and I'm talking about walking to work in like knee-high snow, and I would never be late, and I would stay late and take people's shifts, and I would put up with a lot of abuse, from customers and employers there. It was it was an adventure for sure. But I learned a lot of my work ethic and skill from that place, so I'll always be thankful for that. And actually, that is where this story really begins, because remember how I said this story is about more than just work? Well, when I started working at Pizza Hut, I was, just a cook. So I just kind of stayed to myself. And it was before the days where I like came out of my shell and I like became like a talkative, like outgoing person. Um, but I think actually that place is what helped with that, and modeling. But let me not get off track. But there was a driver there, and his name was Trevor. And I'm using like fake names, guys, like, let's be honest. But like when I first saw him, my brain was like not feeling it. Like, is it just me, or is everybody I look at, I register if I think they're attractive or not? Does that make me a bad person? I hope not. Um One day I was walking home in the dark in the rain, and a car pulled up on the street in front of me, and I was like, this is it. This is when I get murdered. And the window rolls down, and it's this guy, and he looks so familiar. And I'm like, I know this person. And I get in the car, which, like, still not advisable. Like, you could know somebody, and it could not be a good situation at all. So just trust your gut on that one, okay? Don't take my advice and be like, I'm just going to take rides with people just because I work with them. I mean, you just never know. So after that, I started talking to Trevor a lot more at the back sink and when I would wash my hands a lot because we didn't have to wear gloves as cooks. So I have a problem. Well, first of all, it was for, food safety, but I have a problem with my hands being dirty and things being under my nails. And so I was constantly washing my hands, constantly, constantly. And he was constantly making me laugh. And we were having great conversations. And one day I noticed myself blushing and I was like, uh oh, oh no. Um, Especially because he was 10 years older than me. So at this time I was 17 and he was 27. So yeah, not not the smartest crush to have. So one day I was like saying how I had a Subway gift card and all this stuff, and he was like, "Hey, want to hang out? Want to go to Subway?" And after work, and he took me home, and he went home to get changed. And when I went to the place I lived, which was my mom's friend's house, because I was sort of supporting myself at that time, I was just like so giddy. You know, when you're like a teenager and the guy you like asks you to Subway, like I was like, oh my god. And then fast forward to like Valentine's Day, I was moving from my mom's friend's house to another one of her friend's house. It was a time. We'll get into it in other stories. Was having such a bad day. I like dropped a TV on my foot and like it was Valentine's Day, so naturally just a disappointing day for me at least. And my mom ended up bringing chocolates and flowers in for me at work, and like it was anonymous, but like I figured it out. But that was super cute. But Trevor ended up asking me to hang out, and I was like so happy, and we just went to his apartment and ate my chocolates and watched movies, and I ended up spending the night, but we only just slept. And from then on we were just inseparable. We hung out every single day. I spent the night all the time, but we only slept. But I was like confused, you know, at that. But I knew that we were just like best friends at the time, but at the same time, I was like madly in love with him. And nobody really fully understood. Like, he seemed so perfect to me. Like, he was such a kind, generous person, and he did so much for me. I just couldn't believe the effort he made for me, like, was crazy. I remember one time he worked like out of town and I was stranded in downtown Lockport, and he went to my house for me on the way home, grabbed my work clothes, let me change in his car, and dropped me off at work on time. Like, always took me to and from work. Like, I don't know. I thought that maybe things were going to go somewhere at some point. And they did, because we months later started sleeping together. And I just like was waiting and waiting for more. And then my 18th birthday came and we had plans, but he didn't answer me all day. So I just spent the whole birthday waiting. My whole 18th birthday. And it was actually that weekend that I rebounded because he just stopped talking to me completely and didn't for about a month after that. And it was super weird, and I just didn't understand it. And it was really, really painful because I couldn't believe that Trevor, was doing that to me. But Lord, did I have some lessons to learn, didn't I? But I mean, I met his family. We were going to church together and literally spending every day together. So, not to mention our age gap. I was only 17, you know? I had so much life to live. I didn't understand it yet. And I also didn't have that much experience sexually either, and he knew that. And I specifically remember him constantly trying to drill into my head that it's okay for friends to have a sexual relationship like that. I just wasn't for it at first, but at some point I was like, this is the only way I'm going to have him, so this is how I'm going to have him. Anytime I was single in the next few years, we slept together. We were sleeping together for years, and I was just waiting for him to notice me, you know, in the way I wanted him to notice me. Even though, like, if I'm being real with you guys, the sex wasn't that great. I know for me, I I never reached completion. And that's a lesson to any woman who is exploiting themselves like that. If you're going to get yours, you better get yours, baby. Do not waste your time like that. Oh my God, the time I've wasted. But not to mention, there was a coworker that we worked with that had been dating him, I guess, or in variation of that. And when we first were friends, she hated me. Like, we were just friends at the time, but she did not vibe with me after that. And I understood where she was coming from because he was amazing. And I was like, yeah, I'd be pissed too. But don't be pissed at me because he's amazing and I don't know what you expect me to do. Plus, I was 17 and she should have, like, registered that. Because as an adult, when I see older men going after younger women like that, all I can think is, honey, oh, honey. To each their own, I suppose. We all have to learn lessons our own way. But yeah, man, my little 17-year-old heart was in love, and it was in love for so long. I just wanted a life with somebody so amazing. Like I just, like, couldn't grasp. He changed my life in two ways, a positive way and a negative way. Where negatively, I stopped respecting myself and my feelings with men. I started sleeping around a lot. And it's because I just started to believe that that was the only way I was ever going to feel love. And hey, casual sex, look, to each their own. Like, I'm all for it. But some people just don't have the heart for it, and I don't. And I've put myself through it a lot. So I think that's definitely where it all began. And again, it's because, I constantly was putting myself in the situation where I was made to feel like that. So, of course, eventually I'm going to believe it. But positively, he changed my life because he was so amazing to me that I just needed to be on his level so that he could see me. So that's where my journey for becoming such a kind and honest person began, because the way he helped me out, I began helping people out like that. And the way that he was such a friend to me in the beginning, I treasured that. And I looked up to him a lot and I respected him a lot, even while I felt used and sad. See, I told y'all it's going to get deep and shit. So, after years of sleeping together, one day he just had a girlfriend. And they've been together ever since. When I figured that out, when he told me that, oh man, that was some pain. That was some pain for a long time. And years after that, it was about 4 years after that, I didn't see him, but I thought about him every day. And I wished for him every day. And I looked for him in other men, and I looked for him in other people, and I couldn't find him, and I was disappointed. When you really, really love somebody and you know that they're happy, even if that's with somebody else, you're like, I'm so happy for you. Like, I want that for you. So fast forward to 2020. Yeah. The year of years. I worked at K Jewelers, and there was some drama there. There was an assistant manager, Trina, we'll call her, a manager, Mike, and a coworker named Rob. Okay, fake names. But Trina had been the manager before, but she hated Rob so much that she stepped down from her position because she couldn't get rid of Rob. Like, it was that serious to her. So before she was assistant manager, I actually had worked there for a while and I had been busting my ass, so I actually tried to go for the assistant manager position, and I told her about it, and then she took it from me. um so that was cool. And then I just sort of stopped caring. You know when you're not being appreciated somewhere and you're like, I'm not even being paid enough to put in the work I do because you're not even letting me move up in the company or show me any kind of, you know, trust or responsibility, or it's I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I like to feel appreciated. I kind of live on it. Trina was a special case because she was one of those old stuck up women, and who says kinda? She was racist. She would ask me to go watch booths when people of color came in. That shit used to make me so sick to my stomach. And then whenever coronavirus was first happening, the dreaded time, and everything was closing down, of course, K Jewelers, of all places, was trying to stay open while your main client base is old people. Second of all, this is a jewelry store. Why the hell? Why the hell are you trying to stay open? So that was pissing me off because this was very new and scary. And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, we should be closed right now. So Trina was on a conference call to see if we'd be closed. And I was looking at Rob and I'm like, honestly, Rob, this is bullshit. Honestly, was like, I'm going to see if I can leave and keep my, position, because I did have plans to leave for another job. However, I was still scheduled to work for other weeks and I was going to stay on as a part-time employee. But when Trina gets off the phone, she's like, yeah, guys, we're not closing down. And I'm like, are you serious? I was really pissed off. And so I went into the back and I got my purse because I was going to sit down and talk to Trina about what to do. And when I got back out there, she was telling Rob and everybody about what was going on. And I was standing there just listening. And she said, bye, Savannah, like a fucking high school ass bitch. And I was like, no, I'm an employee here and I'm going to stand here and listen to what is going on. But then she just stopped talking. So I turned around and I left. And I was trying to get a hold of Mike, who wasn't there. He was on vacation or something. And me and Mike, my manager, we were buds. Okay, we had a blast together. We really hit it off, and I really liked knowing him. But there are things that he did wrong. Like at the Christmas party, he got really wasted, and he kept coming up to me and putting his arm around my shoulder, and it was really uncomfortable. And then I went to go throw something away, and he slapped my ass as he was walking by, and it made me really uncomfortable. And then I think it was another party we had at a bar, and he got really drunk again, and he kept trying to ask me to drive me home, and I was like, no, I'm gonna stay here. It was uncomfortable, but those times never came up at work, and I don't know if he was inebriated and don't remember, but I know I will never forget. But I was really disappointed because he wasn't answering my calls, and I was really disappointed with everything going on, because not to mention, Trina had been talking shit about Chinese people the whole time. Those people that were doing that when COVID was first happening, like, grow up. Like, that's some racist shit. And I just, like, couldn't take it. So I was trying to get a hold of Mike for 3 days. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to contact the district manager because this is BS. I've been trying to figure out what's going on for days. And he answered me and said, "Well, you walked out." Well, no, I didn't. I tried to contact you. I I was being treated poorly. I was being yelled at. I was being put in a situation where I had to just sit there while somebody in power was degrading people of color. Like that, dude, not tolerable. So I just said, fuck it. And I called the district manager, who was like, again, well, you walked out. No, I didn't. And you can check the cameras. Check the cameras. Check the cameras. Check the cameras. No one wants to check the cameras? Okay, well, guess what? They're closed now. So, that's that. Oh, and not to mention, whenever I got home that day, I texted Rob because Rob was the odd man out, man. Trina tried to turn everybody against Rob, but I seen right through that shit. And I got to know Rob and I started to love her. Like, that was my girl. Like, she was such a grandma figure, and like I loved her. And I texted her and I said, "Hey, I'm really sorry about what went down today. I wish we would have got a proper goodbye. And like, I'm really sorry that you had to stay there while she was behaving like that." And you know what Rob did? She tried to text Trina what I said and sent it to me instead. But did end up sending it to Trina, who then started cussing me out via text. These old ass women. Like, what the fuck? How, like, are we in high school? Dude, workplace drama. And I felt so bad about that for so long. Like, I just, like, felt so wronged. I just, like, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't understand it. I don't know. Maybe I fight too hard for justice for myself. But I just can't let that shit slide. I'm sorry. I won't. So after this, of course, I was quarantining with my 1-year-old for 2 months. It was rough. It was rough. But I made it through, and I eventually started working for an insurance company, working from home. And I worked there for a month, and let me tell you, it sucked. I thought in my little brain that I'd be helping people. Instead, it was people calling saying, "Hey, if I don't get my medication in 3 days, I'm going to die." And I have to say, "Oh, nothing I can do about it. Peace out." You know what I'm saying? Like, that was so depressing. I would cry all the time because I'm just a crier. Okay. And it was not a good time. But after a month, they were like, going to switch our hours. And I was like, I have to have daycare hours. I can't have my hours switched. So they made me resign. Oh boy. And I was also facing eviction because of COVID. It was a time. It was a time. Um I was so down on my luck trying to find a job, and nobody would hire me, like the story of my fucking life. And I actually interviewed for this car dealership, to do detailing cars because I'm super clean and I like to clean, and I'm attention to detail with that shit, and I have little hands, so like I'd be good at that. And I also think it's satisfying, but let me tell you, it was all men, and I've never been in a situation like that where I was treated so bad because I was a woman. They were asking like, "Oh, well, how clean is your car? Are you sure you can work this hard? Are you sure you can work these hours?" Like, it was, at that point, I was like, at this point, if you hire me, I'm not even going to work here because I can already tell you right now what this is going to be like. So after that, I started crying on my way home. And I made a status because I was so like over it. And who comments but Trevor? Yes, he comes back into the story. he tells me to meet him at his job site to see if I'd be a good fit there. And it's about a 30-minute drive, so I was driving and I was like, is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? Is this a good idea? Because like I haven't seen him in so long, and I was like, and should I even work for him and him be my boss? And I got there and he was telling me all about the job, and it'd be like historical restoration on windows and doors, and I was like, in my head I'm like, I don't know if I could do this, but I'm willing to try anything at this point. And so I desperately was just like, yes, just give me the job, just give me the job, you know. And I drove home wondering if this is a bad idea, if this is a good idea. I had to really sit with myself and say, okay, Savannah, this is going to be a whole different dynamic. He's not your friend anymore. He hasn't been your friend in years. I don't know if he ever was your friend or if you were just like a plaything. Like this is something we need to acknowledge because it's something you're going to think about. There's resentments. There's you don't really know him anymore. He's in a relationship that's going to be hard to watch. Like I thought about it all, but I needed a job. And when I started and when I got into it, and I ended up loving it. The job itself, which is so rare. I was so good at it too. I felt like I really found my niche in a way. And I had met a great friend there. Her name was Bree, and it was Trevor's sister, who I actually worked with at Pizza Hut too. And the boys there, they were like so great, and I feel like I really hit it off with everybody. But not to say I didn't have my downsides. I was dealing with really bad depression when I first started, and my son was having chronic ear infections, and I missed a lot of work, and I had a big attendance issue, and that made me even more depressed, you know. But eventually I got medicated and I just started to really hit my stride, and you know, like everything wasn't perfect there, you know, like there was, you know, I was sharing a old abandoned high school's bathroom with a bunch of guys, and there was no door on the stall. It was just a sheet. And I mean, it was like a dark hallway, and the girls' bathroom technically was across the dark gym and in a dark hallway with a red light. Like, how creepy is that? In this dark room with these dark stalls that are super close together. It's like in a horror movie. And they just totally thought that me and Bree were crazy the whole time, but we were scared of that shit. So we went in the men's room. And, you know, sometimes the power would go out when I was the only person there. And that was really scary as fuck. But I really loved the maintenance guy. We'll call him Maddie. Okay, he was amazing, like so kind, and he got me a flash, like an industrial flashlight, because he knew I was afraid of the dark. He was so cute. Like, I miss him every day. I really do. I hope he's doing great. He was just such a great person to get to know. But yeah, like not everything was perfect, but I just really loved what I was doing. I didn't really care how bad it was getting, you know. I just wanted to keep doing what I was doing. Not to say that I didn't notice that Trevor just really didn't enjoy my presence. I could tell that I annoyed him heavily. I could tell that I was just had a little bit too many ideas for his range. And he would always meet me with condescending remarks and sarcasm, but he was my boss, you know, and I wanted to be taken seriously. But I feel like every time I brought anything up, it was I just felt bad about myself for doing it. And I just started to feel like maybe he only gave me the job because he felt bad about what went down in the years past. Although he always said it was because of my work ethic at Pizza Hut, which he's right. That shit was on point, and I fell off over the years. Because when you're not appreciated by so many jobs, it's like you just start to lose your energy. So, June 2021, I took a little vacation. Where'd I go? Buffalo. If anyone knows, that's 30 minutes away from me. Not much of a vacation, but my sister was here from Colorado, and it's always a great time when she's here. We went strawberry picking into the botanical gardens, and we just had like such a blast. And when I got back to work is when shit hit the fan. Now, I knew I was coming back to a little bit of drama. I was warned by Bree because while I was gone, there was a mandate going on for all the workers to be vaccinated. And I didn't mind because I am vaccinated and Bree's vaccinated, but I also knew I worked with a bunch of conservative men and that they were not going to be very happy with that, and that included Trevor. So they all asked to instead be able to continue to wear masks, and the owners let them. By the way, Trevor's sister is the owner's wife of the company, and Bree is his other sister, just to get a full picture. When I got back, I wasn't expecting any personal animosity. I was just expecting people to be pissed, and they were, but no one was wearing their mask, and I'm like, duh, you guys asked to, but okay, it's just like silly. But I was just ready to get back to work. I had just had a great vacation. Like I was just a little upset that I came back to an angry work environment because everyone was very pissed off. But I was like, I'm just gonna ignore it. But Bree was a little annoyed by it because she had been there during the whole thing. And it was very understandable. So the one day, this was a day or two back, I was in one of the shop rooms with Trevor and Bree, and we were just working, and I was cutting glass, and I had to cut curved glass. Now, I've only ever cut straight glass, and let me just tell you, that was one of my weak points. It was something I wasn't very good at because glass has a mind of its own, honestly. It really does. And I asked Trevor to please show me how is the best way to cut the curved glass because I didn't want to waste materials and I just wanted to be able to do it correctly because that's how I learn, is to be shown and then do it with guidance, and then I feel like I got it down. Everyone learns differently. And he basically told me, he was like, well, no one ever showed me, so you're just gonna have to figure it out. And I was like, okay. He said use the scrap glass, and I'm like, yeah, I guess I can do that. At this point, it felt kind of shitty to hear that, so I was like, okay, well, are you sure you can't just help me real quick, just show me real quick? And he was like, you know what, whatever, I'll show you whenever I'm finished with what I'm doing. And I was like, okay, actually, you know what, I'll YouTube it. And he was like, no, it's fine, I'll show you. But at this point I was like, I was kind of hurt because I hate being talked to like that. I really do. It wasn't necessary, and he just started acting very distant and angry, and it was such a problem that I asked him for help. So I went on lunch instead, and I just needed to go clear my head, and I went and I took my lunch, and I went outside, and it was nice out, and I sat at the picnic bench, and I thought to myself, is this going to get better? This isn't the first time he's treated me like this, and it's not going to be the last. And is it going to keep getting worse? And can I ever bring it up? Probably not. I just felt very torn, and I really, really, really loved what I was doing. So I was just trying to sit out there and just swallow all my pride and all my feelings, and just go back inside and just forget it ever happened. That's when I heard smashing going on inside the building, and that's when Bree storms out with all her stuff, and she's like, I'm not being treated like this. I was like, where are you going? Like, why are you leaving me here? What happened? And she told me that whenever I went outside, that she approached Trevor and said, why are you treating her like that? You could just show her real quick, and I would like to learn too. And some people just learn differently. And he said, I'm just so annoyed with everyone needing my help all the time. And just in a nutshell, that he's just overwhelmed and people need to figure stuff out on their own. And no one taught him how to do anything, and we just got to figure it out. And she said, but that's not the way it's supposed to be in a workplace. And I guess they got into just a little argument, but he picked up a piece of glass, cut a curve in it, showed her, smashed it on the table, and walked away like a child. And when she told me this, I honestly started crying. Oh, I will just cry, man. My tears, they don't hold back. And I was like feeling very helpless in the moment. I didn't know what to do. I'm like, I can't just go talk to him about this. That makes me really uncomfortable. Like, you're arguing about me and that makes you want to smash glass. Oh my gosh. Like, hell no. And like, mind you, I've been in abusive relationships and stuff. That's some trauma for me. I don't I have trauma. I don't need people behaving like that and just me shoving it aside, because that's not okay behavior, and it's not okay for a boss to behave like that. It's not. And so I said to Bree, I don't know what to do because we don't have a number for any HR. Like, honestly, who are we supposed to contact? Because am I supposed to just stay here and deal with this? I can't leave. I have daycare to pay for. I have bills to pay. I can't just lose my job. And so their we called their sister, the owner's wife. And she said for us to go home and the next day was Friday. She told us to go home until Monday with pay, and that she would talk to Trevor and everything would be worked out and everything would be fine. So we went in and we got our stuff and we left. But let me tell you, those days were not fun for me and Bree. We were an anxious mess. We were crying a lot. We were so upset, and our future was so undetermined, and we just like didn't know what was going on or what was going to happen, and we were so anxious, and we just like were sick. We were sick. We were sick about it. But if anything, I'm just so happy that I had Bree with me through everything. But after the weekend, on Monday, we contacted Trevor. We wanted to sit down before we just waltzed into work. After everything that happened, we wanted to sit down and discuss everything and just lay everything out on the table and just like have resolution and comprehension and communication. Like, that's all we wanted. But no answer. No answer. In fact, we contacted him Sunday. No answer. No answer Monday. Nothing. No. We almost had heart attacks. We were so anxious. And this is her brother. Like, come on, man. We tried contacting their sister, but she was super busy too. So we had no answers. It was super uneasy. And Trevor finally texts us on that Tuesday, and he wants to meet. So I get ready for work. I'm getting all my paint clothes on. I'm getting ready for work. And Bree's like, honestly, I wouldn't do that. Like, we don't know if we're going to go in. And I'm like, well, I want to. Like, I want to go back to work. Like, this is too much at this point. I had to stand my ground. So we went to the meeting, and they were like, oh, actually, we're going to do one of you at a time. And there was HR there. And that's when we looked at each other and we're like, this is not the meeting we were expecting. So I went first, and I tried to have a conversation with Trevor. I mentioned everything I could, but he wasn't hearing me. All he was hearing was what he wanted to hear, and spewing excuses and bullshit, and not acknowledging where he went wrong, and it was all our fault for not contacting him because, their sister did not contact him like she said she would. He had no idea what was going on that whole weekend either. But that's not our responsibility when you acted up. It was their sister's responsibility to contact her employee and straighten things out for her other employees. That didn't happen. And we all got fucked. But mostly and specifically me and Bree. Because now he was trying to fire us as no call, no shows. And I'm like, that's not what happened though. But when they gave me that paper to sign, I don't know what it is with when people give me a pen, I feel like I'm obligated to sign it. And then the whole time Bree was in her meeting, I was trying to listen in and I couldn't. And she came out and I was like, did you sign that paper? And she said, no, because that's not what happened. I ran in that room so fast, took back my paper and crossed out my name because that's not what happened. Like, I can't make this shit up. I really can't. The next day, we had a meeting with their sister. And she wanted us to actually transfer. We weren't fired. She wanted us to transfer to the establishment that we actually just finished working on, which was a boutique hotel. And she wanted us to be management and do all these important things and pay us well and treat us well, and it all sounded so great. And I'm like, heck yeah. And we were like, heck yeah. And we were going to be partners. And me and Bree, if anyone should be business partners, it's me and Bree. One day, we're going to have our own business together. I believe it. We're such a good team. And I think we really have each other's backs. And of course, it wasn't long before I just felt like I was being micromanaged and I was being misled about my position and about like, and I was learning by fire. There was no policies. I actually created a bunch of policies. I was really busting my ass. I cleaned that place top to bottom, like every week. I was sweating, man. They had me in fancy clothes and I was sweating. I'm like, you guys cannot have me doing both. like one or the other. But of course, after less than a month, they cut my hours because of cutbacks, because they had spent too much money on other things, so they had to make cutbacks. And after I've had endless conversations with them about what I need from my employer to match my energy, and I gave them every inch of my good work ethic. I really put everything into it at that hotel. And they cut my hours. So I can't pay for daycare, so I can't work here. Thanks. And Lord, did that begin? That began just like a shitstorm of shit. Like, it has been the hardest time for me since I sat at my kitchen table probably for about 3 months straight, just applying to jobs, hundreds. Interviews. No one's hiring me. Always the same old story. They don't match up with daycare hours, or they don't pay enough to pay for daycare. It's like, make it work out, please. And not to mention, like, my coworkers from my historical restoration job that I thought I hit it off well with, they all deleted me off social media and just iced me out. And it's almost like they didn't even know what happened, because I didn't do anything to anybody, which sucks. That really sucks. I really cared for them. But I do that every job. I get so emotionally invested in my coworkers, and it's because I want to make good friendships, and it just never seems to work out. Not to say I haven't made some amazing connections with people throughout the years through work. I really have. I really have. But yeah, it's been rough. It's been the angriest, loneliest, and just most emotional time trying to find a job, trying to wonder how I'm going to keep everything afloat, and everything's really coming to a head now. You know, I'm drowning in it. To just get real with you guys, like, I'm so behind in bills that, like, I might lose a ton of shit. I might really lose things here. And believe it or not, people that I love, family members, friends, they have resentments towards me. You know, I hear about them when they tell other people, and I feel it because I'm an empathetic person, and I know it's because I've been distant. But if they only knew why, it's because I'm super struggling right now, and I don't have the energy for anybody else. And I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry. If anyone has resentments towards me, that is your own problem. Like, I really would never wish on anybody this, to have people resent them because they're going through the worst time of their lives. Like, have some respect for rock bottom, okay? But I have had tons of support, and I appreciate that. I really do. The people who are hanging in there, the people who are worrying about me all the time, everything's going to be fine. But it's not to say it hasn't been really, really hard, and I'm trying my just damnedest. Good news is I have a new job. I'm 2 weeks in. I love it. They treat you like an adult. They treat you with respect. I appreciate it. They're welcoming. I really feel like this is the place where I can rest. You know, like I can well, not rest, you know, work hard, but like I can sit my ass here for a while and not be jumping job to job. I want stability so bad. I really, really do. But I have to be appreciated, because I know that I have the ability to make real changes in a workplace with just my attitude. And, you know, that's a great segue into loving myself. Throughout everything, like, I'm just really trying to hold on to loving myself. I am a strong ass bitch. Anyone who really knows me knows that, like, but I stay kind to people, and I'm always honest, and I never judge people on anything. I can put myself in anybody's shoes. But even when I can do that, I can acknowledge that they don't acknowledge when they're hurting people. And I appreciate lessons. You know, I appreciate learning things. It's constant for me. It truly is. But I think it's just so important so that we can grow. And I can only just imagine who I'm going to be as an old lady. I'm going to be like the wisest fucking bitch. Like, come to me for anything. Lessons learned from all of this. Trust your gut. Always going to be a lesson in like every story. Trust your gut. But sometimes people aren't perfect. I'd be wrong if I were to say that during that time where I was dealing with Trevor being my boss, I seen so many sides of him I've never seen before that made me dislike him in a way. It was shocking to me to learn some things and learn some ways that he felt, and really just get to know, I guess, the real him, the one that wasn't trying to get something from me. But it's also disappointing to have that glass shattered. I'll always wish Trevor well, but he'll never acknowledge how all of that has had a domino effect on me and Bree. And he'll never acknowledge how things went down that day and how we really didn't do anything that detrimental to get that response. That it wasn't that serious. But big lessons from jobs. Don't allow yourself to be exploited. Don't allow yourself to put up with workplace abuse. It's not okay. There are plenty of jobs out there. No, I'm not even going to say that. It's hard out there. It's hard out there. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, yeah, I just, went crazy with job applications and it was the worst time in my life. But there's jobs out there. No, I'm not going to be that hypocrite for you guys. I understand it's hard out there and not everyone can jump ship. I understand that. I've just never had the willpower to sit there and take it. It's just not who I am. I've learned not to lose your work ethic just because you're being unappreciated. Because at the end of the day, you got to be that bigger person. You have to be the one that says, I did all I did. I did all I could do. At the end of the day, you always want to be the better person out of a situation. That's like law for me. You want to be the best person in the situation. If somebody's throwing tons of dirt at you, say thank you. Now I can plant a flower. How can people hate you for that? Believe it or not, tons of people don't like me. So this is a story from a friend who wrote in, and I'm so happy that you wrote in. Believe it or not, only 2 people have wrote in. Come on, guys. We're gonna talk about that in a minute, but she said, so the first time I actually did get fucked over, I was working at blank, a hospital, in the dietary department. I was 18, but still in high school, which they knew, and they said they'd accommodate because I was a super academic student, so I did like national honors. They made me miss the induction ceremony that year. I requested off really early for this Post Malone concert that year because I already had the tickets and those bitches denied my request off. So I went to some people in my department and asked if they'd be willing to cover my shift, and they agreed. So I asked the supervisor that night if I could go into the office and write a letter to the head supervisor about covering my shift the day of the concert, and he said I could. So I go into the office and the first thing I see is a bright colored sticky note with my name on it. I wrote the letter, and they went to my supervisor and asked him about it. Turned out, some of the morning shift people had complained about something I was constantly doing, so instead of one of the supervisors telling me what I was doing wrong so I could stop doing it, they waited until they had a bunch of ammo to throw at me and make me feel like shit. That supervisor told the head supervisor I was snooping in the office as if he didn't give me permission to go in there. So the head supervisor called me in one day, and the first thing she said was, "Who do you think you are?" and bitched me out for 15 minutes over the thing I'd been doing wrong. She was super heated over the fact that I tried to get my shift covered for the concert. She had me in tears, and I swear that was her goal. So I put in my 2 weeks that day of the concert. Would have been my last day, but I was already planning to call off. Best part was, the day before the concert was my senior skip day, and I got into a kayaking accident and had to call off. So I called in my last 2 days, and to be honest, that's karma for them treating me the way they did and misleading me into thinking they understood that I was young and had things going on. One other thing that happened to me, though. We all had to get tuberculosis tests since it was a hospital. We all got our little injection, and then I think 2 days later we'd have to have a nurse check the injection site to see if we were positive or not. Well, my best friend also worked there, and her PPD actually showed up positive, so they had to send her to urgent care. Apparently nothing a hospital could do for her, question mark. And they told our supervisor about it, which is illegal under the HIPAA protection, and my friend's mom threatened to sue the hospital. So Yeah, I feel all of that. I really do. And when I worked for 7-Eleven, um, it was one week in, and the manager pulled me in the back, and her like 6-year-old was back there like screaming and crying, and she started cussing me out like super loud about how I wasn't doing enough because no one was training me. They just wanted me to do register, and so I was just doing register. um yeah, it wasn't a good place to work. So I have one more story here. I dated this guy, and his dad started dating this woman who was in sales at a car dealership. She needed a new assistant, so she asked me. Before I get to the actual story, just know that car dealerships are actually what you expect. Most people were doing coke. Most people were going to rip you off. Some of the salesmen would send assistants or past assistants money for nudes or would pay for their nails. It was fucked. I remember another saleswoman fixed my name tag for me because she said the position made me look like I had saggy tits. Smiley face. Anyway, I'd broken up with the dude that summer, so I kind of expected that I wasn't going to have that job forever since it was a little awkward. The day before my birthday, the general manager called me in. Just so you can picture this woman, she looks like other mother in spider from in spider form from Coraline. Before I went in, I asked my boss, would they tell you if they were going to fire me? She appeared caught off guard, but honestly, I don't have full trust in it. Anyway, I go in, and sure enough, she fired me. Again, the day before my birthday, and also, she didn't even pronounce my name right. I was obviously upset, and she literally said to me, "Don't cry." She said I was being fired because there was another salesperson losing their privilege to an assistant, and they felt like the assistant was more productive, so they were going to transfer her to my boss. Mind you, the only time that the GM saw me was when I was sitting at my boss's desk. So, of course, she only saw me when I was being unproductive. Within a month before this, I had voluntarily taken license plates covers and put them on every car that was missing one. I had voluntarily collected all of the Christmas cards from a wholesale department and postage stamped them. These tasks weren't my job, but I did them to be more productive. But since I wasn't sitting at my boss's desk, of course, the GM didn't see. So yeah, that night I had a birthday party, which started off with sobbing since I got fired and lived alone. So how was I going to pay rent? GM didn't know my birthday was the next day, didn't know how to pronounce my name, then just fired me. Well, aren't they lovely? There's some good ones out there, but they're far and few between. They just have no consideration, and it's almost like they lose their soul over time. And God, it's like things got to change in the workplace. They really do. And I fight for that. I really do. So thank you so much, Rhiannon, for your stories. I appreciate you so much, and I hope we get to see each other soon. And thank you for listening. All right, guys, we did it. This was episode 5, and I just really appreciate all the support I'm getting, and I just hope it continues because it's only going to keep getting better. Next week, we are going to be talking about breakups. I don't know who my guest is going to be, but it's going to be somebody, and it's going to be juicy. And today, of course, was fun. We got into heartbreak. We got into some fuck shit. I mean, I'm here to bring you it all. All of the support that I have gotten so far, it means the world to me. And I know I say that like a ton, but there's just like not enough words that could like really express how I feel. And I appreciate the support with my artwork too. That moment at the bar was like, I felt famous. Not gonna lie to you, it was beautiful. But yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody to definitely go look up this band Atlas period. They have amazing music and they're really cool guys. So I hope everybody has a great week, and remember to send in your emails at bananaswithsav. Get your stories read on the show, guys. Like, come on, be a part of this. Yeah. And don't forget to rate, review, subscribe on all platforms, add the podcast on Facebook, on Instagram, and just be chill, be safe, and peace out, guys.